Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Discovery webinar for the new Spending Money module. This is our newest program in the Adult Financial Literacy series, and I'm very excited to give you an overview of this. My name is Natalie, and I'm going to walk you through some of the key elements of the module. What you can expect your participants to get out of the session, what some of the key takeaways will be, and I will follow up with a demo so you can see a firsthand look at what facilitating the program will look like. So in Spending Money, participants explore their current approach to spending with the goal of developing healthier spending practices by identifying their areas for improvement. This module guides participants through a self-reflection process and provides practical tips to improve participants' overall understanding of their financial goals. Participants assess their spending habits and recognize their financial wants and needs. And they also finish the module feeling more empowered to work towards their financial goals while being equipped with some money management skills. Our module design allows for participants to complete these goals during the module and implement them into their spending habits after the session. So these include reflecting on current spending habits, identify where their spending habits may be coming from, identify money leaks, learn thoughtful spending tips, and they'll also put their learning into action by practicing these saving techniques. The purpose of this module is to share a compassionate and realistic approach to thoughtful spending. The module is a safe and non-judgmental space that allows participants to assess some of the areas of change in their spending habits. And it will also share some research-based techniques for saving money. The idea is not to eliminate any spending at all, but to take a more thoughtful approach to spending to save money in the long run. As for some of the skills your participants will be using throughout the program, they will explore the difference between wants and needs in detail. So if you have used our previous module in the financial literacy series, we covered the topic of budgeting, where we did go over the difference between wants and needs. In this module, however, participants get to do that in a little bit more detail. They learn what they tend to spend most of their money on, so consumer awareness. They'll learn tangible money management skills to support in saving money, and also reflect on their strengths and their weaknesses with regard to their financial knowledge and skills through a compassionate lens. And this will be highlighted through the module demo. I'll just be sharing with you some tips to keep the space safe and non-judgmental through your facilitation practices. And as the facilitator, you are well equipped with everything that you need in order to facilitate the module with success. And if you are not new to Hub and you've delivered modules before, I'm sure you are very well acquainted with the facilitator guide, but for those who may be new, I'll give a quick overview of what this is for and how you can use it. So when you select that guide button on the module card, the document will open up as a PDF, so it can easily be saved to your device. You can print it off, but as a 33-page document, I highly recommend saving it to a device like a phone, laptop, or iPad, where you can access it during module facilitation. The guide also has a script, which allows you to follow along with what participants are seeing on their screens, and you can read aloud the content that needs to be delivered on each page. Now, the content that is in the guide differs slightly from the content that is shown on the page, and that is because the content you will be reading aloud is additional information that pairs well with the content that's on the page. So we always recommend reading the content aloud and then inviting a participant to share what is on the screen. On the module cards, you also have access to the journal. Now, it is important that each of your clients have a copy of their very own journal before beginning the module, because this is where they will be writing their name as well as the answers to the reflection questions that are shown throughout the program. You'll get a better idea of what this looks like when we go through the demo. I will showcase here that we have some wonderful visuals in the journal, as well as quotes, and all of the input boxes here are fillable so that if your participant is doing an online program with you, they can just type anything into the fields. If you are doing in-person programming, you are more than welcome to print off the journals so your participant can have a physical copy, and they can also bring the journal home with them if they choose. So let's go ahead and take a look at the module. So I selected the Start Module button, which will begin the programming. You'll be brought to our introductory page, and the facilitator guide provides an introduction to the module that you can read aloud to your participants. You can explain here that everybody is welcome to complete the module, whether they are very skilled in money management, or maybe they are beginning their journey of financial planning. Regardless, everyone will learn something new. When we were creating this module, we were also very mindful that money can be a difficult topic for some folks, which is totally understandable. So we have very compassionate language throughout. So at this point, the guide will invite you to share with everyone that they don't have to participate in anything that is triggering or makes them feel uncomfortable. We'll select the Begin Module button, and the following pages provide you the opportunity to get to know your participants further and raise engagement amongst the group. So we will be reviewing the topics so that the participants know what they're going to be learning throughout the course. We always share a check-in question at the beginning of a hub module, so everyone can get acquainted with one another, or you can become acquainted with one participant if there's just one. And we always include our rules of engagement page. So the rules of engagement are essentially rules that allow us to all be on the same page about what we want the space to look like during this session. So for example, we want the space to be inclusive. Maybe someone suggests that they don't talk over others when speaking. And if participants are stuck or can't think of any rules of engagement, you can select the light bulb icon at the top right corner for some suggestions. I'd also recommend reading aloud the suggestions provided, and your participants can choose some of their favorite ones that you can type into the input fields. Here we have a warm-up activity in which people can get a sense of where they currently are in their spending habits. Before we learn how to spend wisely, we need to understand what our current habits are. So the facilitator can read aloud each statement and invite participants to raise their hand if any of the statements apply to them. And of course, we remind participants that there is no shame or judgment if any statements apply to them. The purpose is to get an idea of some areas of improvement. This is where we introduce the journal to our participants. And here we explain that there is a journal moment at the end of each topic that allows them to reflect on the content that they had just learned. For the first one, though, this is just an introductory journal moment to get the ball rolling on some reflection questions. So once you press the Start Journal Moment button, in line to write down the answers to the questions. Now, we can also invite people to draw their answers if they prefer drawing, or they can verbally share the answers to the journal moment questions. It's totally up to them. And we offer a number of different learning modalities through the session so that everyone feels included. Great, so I'll give you an idea of what this looks like. And I also welcome any questions if there are any so far. Great. So here, everyone gets to review the difference between the things that they want in their lives and the things that they need. So needs are things that we cannot live without. We require them to survive, like food, shelter, water, warm winter clothes, just to name a few. And we share the definition of wants. So these are the things that we want to have, but do not need to survive. So these are our extra expenses. For a discussion question, we'll also ask participants what some examples of their wants and needs are in their lives. Good money management includes both your needs and your wants. This just means you must cover your needs first before you can plan for the things that you want. Our needs may vary depending on the situation. So together as a group, we explore a couple of scenarios. So we share, Ali needs a car because he lives too far from public transport and cannot get to work without it. Maggie wants a car because she doesn't like public transport. What is the difference between the two scenarios? Participants put their learning into action through activities that we will put throughout the program. And here we have a exploring needs and wants activity. So in this activity, participants will select a card and an item will show up. And either as a group or individually, they can answer if this is something that is a want to them or something that they need. And this is also a good time to remind everyone that wants and needs vary between people. So what may be considered a necessity for one person may not be for another person, and vice versa. Now we get into the topic of money leaks, which are the small things you spend your money on, like lotto tickets, gum, chocolate bars, and buying lunch. They may seem small, but money leaks can add up and end up costing us a lot of money. Let's look at a money leak scenario. So we apply the content into an activity in which we read out this scenario. During her work week, Monday to Friday, Salima treats herself to 3 takeout lunches a week because she is often too busy preparing her kids for school to make her lunch in the morning. Each lunch costs her about $8. This means she spends $24 a week on takeout lunches. That adds up to a total of $96 a month. And then we invite participants to share a potential answer to the question. So if Salima buys lunch 3 times a week for an entire year, how much is she spending a year? And then you can review the answer here and follow up with some discussion questions, asking if anyone can relate to Salima's scenario and what we can learn from her scenario. And we do have a couple of extra reflection questions that we could ask participants, like what could Salima do instead to save her money? And how much would she spend per year if she only brought one lunch once a week instead of 3 days? We have a couple more activities where participants can explore their own personal money leaks they may have in their lives, including this calculator. So maybe a participant will have an example of something that they can add into the calculator here. If not, you can pull an example for your life. For me, it'll be something like going out for coffee. So I can say, maybe daily, number of times per day, once. And I live in Toronto. Shockingly, a cup of coffee out is around $7, which is awful. But once you add in all of the data, you get a result that can really highlight how little things can add up over time. Jump ahead slightly to see the next topic, we get into consumer awareness. So another way to plug your money leaks is to look at your shopping habits. Spending most of your money on wants or neglecting your needs can lead to debt, which makes it harder to reach your financial goals. We have a spending habits quiz, so you can invite one person to answer the questions, or you can do this together as a group. And basically, it allows everyone to reflect on what their habits are. So for example, when I go grocery shopping, I bring a list so I won't be tempted to buy things I do not need. Before I make a large purchase, I take time to research the product the company makes and reviews about it. I use coupons and look for sales or discounts before and when I shop. So we cover how prepared people are when they shop, if they easily give in to emotional spending, or if they wait until things are on sale, etc. And this is just to get a bit of an idea of what our spending habits are. Because in the next page, this will populate with the results based on what participants had answered. So you can see an overview of their answers by selecting this button here, so that they can have an objective view on what their typical spending habits are. Now that participants understand where they are with their spending, we share some suggestions for saving money and incorporating more helpful strategies. I'll walk you through a couple of examples here. And I do recommend inviting each participant to read aloud each tip as you move through the slides. And once you go through all of the tips, you can follow up with discussion questions such as, which tip do you find most useful? And can you imagine implementing this tip? And can you think of any other healthy shopping tips or recommendations? So this really allows participants to think about what they can apply to their own lives. And maybe at this point in the module, they have some ideas of their own that they can share. The stop or swap method is another very effective money management tool, according to research. It allows us to make thoughtful choices about what we buy. To swap means you buy a cheaper alternative for an item that you want. And to stop means you decide not to buy the item altogether. And this allows us to make thoughtful choices about what we buy. Saving money does not necessarily mean not buying anything for yourself ever, but we do save a bit of money when we stop to ask ourselves if this item is something we really need. And then asking yourself if there is a cheaper alternative is a healthy approach to money management because we can still buy things that we enjoy occasionally. Now we get to test our learning as a group through an activity in which they can read different scenarios related to spending money, and participants can identify where maybe the person in the scenario had made a spending mistake or something that they can improve on. It's good to have money and the things that money can buy, but it's good too to check up once in a while and make sure that you haven't lost the things that money can't buy. This is a quote by George Lorimer. And we have some follow-up questions that you can engage the participants in through a circle format. Our final journal moment invites participants to reflect on if their personal financial goals or ideal financial situation has changed since the beginning of the module. Using the information from the module, they reflect on how they feel maybe closer to their financial goals and maybe what they need to get closer to that goal in the future. Each hub module does have a take-home practice at the end of the program so that participants can take the skills that they learn throughout the program and practice them at home. If they are physically taking the journal with them, if they're doing the journal online, then you're welcome to save it to the device that you're on and send them a copy if that is an option available to you. Otherwise, I do recommend doing the take-home practice during the session just to invite participants to think a little bit further about what they've learned. This activity allows them to consider their money leaks in their lives. How you spend your money is your choice. However, by creating a plan to stop your money leaks, you can develop healthier shopping habits that are easier on your wallet. So participants are invited to reflect on what items do you buy that you might want to exchange for cheaper ones? What items do you buy that you might want to stop buying altogether? And also, are there items that you can get more but pay less by looking at the unit price? And to conclude the module today, we have everyone share one takeaway that they got out of the module. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar for our spending money module. You are more than welcome to contact me at any time through the contact info that is up on your screen. I'm always available for any questions or comments or feedback that you might have, and I look forward to hearing from you.